Lost Boys The Thirst, Death Race 2, and Dread. And you listening to the Movie Raid.
It's time for another interview on the Movie Raid, and this time actor, writer, and a director, and is also a victim from the Lost Boys The Thirst, and that's Joe Voss.
How you doing, man?
Hello, Joe.
Well, thank you for asking me to be on the show.
Not a problem. So you're from South Africa, all the way from there. So what's going on?
Right now, a lot of wind. We have a southeaster blowing outside in Cape Town here. But otherwise, nothing much. It's Christmas.
Yeah. So how the hell are you going to celebrate Christmas over there when it's like, what, 90-degree weather?
You know what? It's kind of weird. We kind of adapt to the European and the American Christmases. So, you know, we spray snow on our windows, fake snow on our windows, and, you know, the whole tube. It's ridiculous because it is, I'm guessing it's like the Christmas in California, you know, it's cargo shorts and sandals. Trip down to the beach.
That's messed up. So, you also are doing some new projects. So, you're also doing Judge Dredd.
Yeah, I just finished up on Dredd. This is a 3D movie directed by Pete Travis and put out by DNA Films and Kalahari Pictures, the guys behind District 9. So that looks like it's going to be very, very exciting and a lot of fun. It's a great script by Alex Garland. Carl Urban is playing Dredd. Olivia Thirlby's playing Anderson. It's going to be a goodie. I can't wait to see it. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait until, I think it's coming out in 2012. It's going to be a bit of a wait.
So this is a remake or a sequel or a prequel, which is?
I think it's a reboot, as they call it. It's basically picking up. There were a lot of complaints from the comic book, because Dredd obviously started out in 2000 AD, so it's a British science fiction magazine, and so this is Stallone version, the 1995 version, was more of a glamorized Hollywood action type film, whereas I believe this one is going to be a lot more gritty, a lot more realistic. Just more in line with the comic book. So a lot of violence, and it's great. It's great, social science fiction. It's the best kind.
Yeah. Also, since you're in like several occupations, which one do you really prefer? Do you prefer actually acting, or do you prefer pretty much all the above?
Well, acting is where I earn my living from. So technically, I would say that my profession is an actor. Everything else is what I do on the side. The directing stuff is, I've done 3 short films that I financed myself and co-wrote. I co-wrote 2 of them, I wrote 1 of them. So those are really the hobby side of it. It would be great if I got paid for being a director, or my films actually made some money, but at this stage, they did a couple of festival circuits, and we got a few honorable mentions and a couple of pats on the back, which is great, but you know, it doesn't really pay the rent. So directing I love doing, but unfortunately it comes with a price. You kind of have to either search for the finance, which I'm no good at. I don't know how to finance a movie, or you fund it yourself, which is what I did with the last 3 that I've done. So at this stage, I don't see myself directing anytime soon, because I mean, you're really talking in even for a 0 budget movie, you're talking about between $10,000 to $50,000 to put together. So it's a lot of money to raise, and it takes a long time to raise it.
So do you actually prefer, when it comes to these high budget films, because it seems a lot of the high budget films are just going to shit these days, because it becomes like billions upon billions of dollars. Is it actually best to have a high budget film or a low budget?
You know what, they're so different. I think the budget of a film is almost irrelevant. I mean, it's basically, you know, a film will garner a high budget if the producers or the studios think it's going to make back that money. But at the end of the day, basically, a film is a story. And it all starts with a script. And if a script is good, it matter what that budget is, it will hold. If you can do a low-budget movie with a great script, and it will get noticed, and you can do a big-budget film with a crap script, and, it'll lose money.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really comes down to what's the script, what's the genre, how is it going to be marketed. For example, the straight-to-DVD stuff that I've just done, Lost Boys and Death Race 2, those movies, they were great fun to do, fun scripts, and they will make money. And at the end of the day, and this is me putting on my producer hat, a movie needs to make money, because it's a business. You finance something, you get a profit out, and with that profit, that helps you to finance the next movie. So that's the business. It has to keep feeding itself. It has to sustain itself.
Yeah.
So I don't think the budget is that much of a thing.
Yeah.
I did 10,000 BC, which is it was obscene. It was like $205 million or something. And that was unfortunately a box office flop. It didn't make its money back. Whereas Lost Boys, which is I think $10 million, it will make its money back. They will make that money back. So which one is a success?
Yeah.
10,000 BC, it was fantastic. It was awesome, big widescreen cinema experience, but it was a flop.
Mm-hmm.
Lost Boys is going to make its money back, which means those producers will make more movies, and hopefully they'll come back down here and they'll use us again, and we'll make more movies. And that's what it's about.
Oh yeah, because it's not just like critics. That has nothing to do with losing the money. It's just, believe it or not, because the fans are watching this. It's just like with remakes and some prequels, not all prequels, but some prequels will just end up going shit because they don't want to see that anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the public, to a large extent, is getting tired of the rehashed plots. Things are just getting. We're kind of losing originality. A lot of what I see, even on television. We've got Hawaii Five-0. They're doing a great job of it, but it's not an original concept. That was done before. Battlestar Galactica, phenomenal series, but it's not an original concept.
Even Stargate.
Yeah, even Stargate. Stargate was a great film to start off.
Believe it or not, it was a great film, but man, was it short.
Yeah, I really love Stargate. It was actually, it's the movie that brought Roland Emmerich out.
That was like, the next Star Trek-y type film.
Yeah, it was fantastic. The whole concept, the premise behind it, with the Egyptian mythology, and it was phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
And it obviously spurred. The series is great as well. I'd love seeing Richard Dean Anderson again after 20 years away. Good old MacGyver back on target. But again, it just, you kind of get, specifically, if we're talking about television, you get two types of TV nowadays. You get, in my opinion, you get really good, innovative stuff that gets cancelled 14 episodes in, like, say, Firefly. And then you get mediocre stuff that is well into its 9th, its 10th, its 11th season. And I think it's just there because people have come to expect it to be there, and so they just put out another season.
Yeah.
But now we're getting into TV. I don't want to get into that because I get very passionate.
Oh, that's all right, man. That's what it's all about, dude. Shit, you're the one that's being in television, so we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it's like now so-called reality shows are on because apparently people want to watch stupid-ass young females fight and then have their private. My favorite parts blurred out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to do for my afternoon. Just watch these stupid-ass chicks do that. Yeah.
You know what? You switch on and you sit there and you catch yourself an hour later just still watching it. And the network that put it out is raking in the millions from the advertising that's going out during the show. And unfortunately, that's what it's about. Reality TV is cheap.
Yeah, and not only that, it's like, it's for the younger generation, just like what they say for the remix. It's for the younger generation.
And more importantly, you don't have to pay your cost.
Yeah. No, you don't. It's like, here, just put the camera in front of you and then just start bitching at somebody and then throw some water in this person's face and there you go. There's your show.
And everyone wants their 15 minutes of fame, and it's quite amazing what people will do to have their face on television for 15 minutes. Hey, ask me. I do it for a living.
I mean, it is amazing how what actors would go through, especially like those reality shows when they're nothing, dude.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that something needs to change. It got to a point. Television in particular, but just became phenomenal around just post the X-Files and the Sopranos. You know, there was like a new renaissance of television.
Yeah.
It just got bigger and better, and the budgets just went through the roof. But in the last 2-3 years, I mean, I can rattle off great shows on one hand. Invasion, cancelled. Life, cancelled. Firefly, cancelled. You know, Battlestar Galactica, which thank God Sci-Fi Channel didn't cancel and saw it through to the end.
Yeah.
But, and I don't know, it's got to a point where you know, interestingly, I saw an interview with Bono about 13 years ago, 1997, and he predicted, he said, the 21st century is we're entering the era of karaoke, is how he put it. Is where things will sell not because they're original, but because they remind you of something that was original.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, he nailed it on the head.
Oh yeah.
Having said that, we're going to talk about 2 sequels, well, 1 sequel, 1 prequel, and a remake that I've been in recently, so
that's like, you're pretty much, I guess you would use the term, it's like you're on the fence here.
I tend to do the sequels. I'm the sequel king down here.
You just like doing rebounds, dude. That's all you do.
That's what I do.
I was in the plot. You know what? I'm going to go to a prequel. Screw you.
I'm your go-to guy. You need to make a remake? Come on down.
I'm your remake guy right here. Come on, let's go. Okay, naked? I don't care. It's a remake. They're going to hate it anyway.
As my favorite line from Ghostbusters, Winston Zedmore says, if there's a steady paycheck in it, I'll believe anything you want.
Yeah, I know. As a matter of fact, they're making a new film with that too. I think it's coming out like next year.
Ghostbusters 3.
Yeah. But what's your opinion on? Since we're going to get into remakes, what is your opinion on remakes?
You know what? It's weird. If you'd asked me 5-6 years ago, I would have said, you know, why bother? The original is done. It's good. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Why go back and rehash it? But I have to say, Battlestar Galactica kind of changed the field. Because I mean, I've forgotten his name now. Moore. What's his name?
I have no clue.
Ronald Moore, the creator of Battlestar Galactica.
Oh yeah.
He basically, you know, did a rehash of a 70s sci-fi series, which everyone thought was like, oh my god, what's he doing? And he turned it into a masterpiece. And so after watching that, I kind of realized that, you know, hang on a second, sometimes there is room for improvement. Yeah,
TV series-wise, it could be fairly decent as far as, like, reboot series, but we're talking, like, actual film-wise, it's just a lot of them just don't go anywhere, man. They've remade almost everything, and they're still doing it. They're actually taking a break now. Now everything's going into 3D.
Yeah, which is great. At least, you know, Cameron managed to achieve something with Avatar. Did I say that out loud? Oh my god. I want the 3 hours of my life back, James Cameron. Give them back, please. No, the thing. Well, yeah. I mean, remakes. Some of them. You know what it does is it makes accessible certain films. I mean, it's like everything. I grew up with some great songs on the radio, and I thought, wow, it's fantastic songs. And whenever I'd hear a cover version of something, I'd go, no, I want the original. Not having realized that the songs I grew up with were cover versions of songs from the 50s and the 60s. And I think in certain cases, I mean, I saw The Manchurian Candidate 2 weeks ago, again. It was on television. And I remember the original. I mean, I saw it when I was ages and ages ago in the late 70s. But I've completely forgotten the story. And watching this one, Liev Schreiber, Denzel Washington, I thought, you know what, the story is fantastic, and it's not a bad remake. It's actually a very good remake. So it reminded me, like Bono said, it reminded me of something that I'd forgotten about. The remake of Assault on Precinct 13 with Ethan Hawke. Fantastic movie. Again, I don't remember the original, I think it's John Carpenter, I don't remember the original film. So, you know, it blew me away. And I think to a certain extent, just like when you hear a cover version of a song, sometimes you'll go back and find the original artist and go and buy the original artist's album. I think sometimes a remake will remind you that this is a brilliant film. And you go back in your library, or you go back to the DVD store and you find that original movie and you watch it again. And so, in some ways, it does. I don't know. Art is imitation. I mean, it always has been. Everything has been rehashed.
Yeah.
Muse is a rehash of Bach. It's 500 years later, or 400 years later, and they're still doing the same thing. But it's a completely different way of doing it.
But, I mean, partially, since now that everyone's doing 3D, it's probably partially because no one wants to watch remakes anymore.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, Hollywood kind of goes where the money is, and like when I started off, I said it is a business and it is about profit. But I think what's happened is it's got to a point where they've got a formula that works, and they're not interested in trying anything new. And it takes a visionary, it takes someone like Cameron to come in there and break down the doors and spend whatever it was, $600 million on a movie to show you that. Hang on a second. But even 3D, I mean, 3D is a rehash. 3D was out in the 50s.
Yep.
Then it disappeared. And then it came back in the early 80s and it disappeared. And now it's back again.
Yeah, suddenly it's like really popular. I mean, look at Ice Age and films before that.
Absolutely. And I think 3D will have its time as well. It's been and gone twice before, and I promise you nothing's going to change. We're all going to go crazy for 3D for the next 5-6 years, and then it disappear off the face of the earth again, just like it did before, just like it did in the 80s, just like it did in the 50s.
Well, look at the cartoons. Cartoons are just like that too. Because remember, like Bugs Bunny, everybody loves Bugs Bunny. Now it's just all that, it's gone. Like it's just nothing but a faded memory.
Yeah, absolutely.
Porky Pig, you go back and watch it, like, wow, it's been years.
I've actually been tracking all that stuff down. I've just had a daughter, so I'm like rehashing my youth and kind of tracking down all the cartoons I grew up with and all the Disneys and all. Yeah. Just trying to stack them all up so that she can watch them. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Remakes, they serve their purpose in one aspect. They serve their purpose. And in another aspect, yes, one could say it is a lack of imagination or lack of creativity, but by the same token, it's also a case of someone watching something, one assumes, and goes, someone watches something and goes, well, I think I can do a better version, or I think I can do a more pertinent version for this generation.
Yeah. And you'll hear the word, someone will say, paying homage or homage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on, you're not.
I have to admit that 9 times out of 10 it doesn't work.
No.
but there's always that one time that it does work. And it's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, a majority of like these remakes now, what they do is they'll take the story, but then they'll completely screw it all up, or they'll completely screw up the entire story in general, other than just parts of the story, and say, oh, well, we can add this here and there. It's like, well, it had nothing to do with that in the original.
You know what? Actually, I was going to bring up Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
If you think Invasion of the Body Snatchers, if you're old enough and if you appreciate good movies, you think of the Donald Sutherland movie. Fantastic movie done in the 70s. That's a remake.
Yeah, look at fucking, not Stanley, John Carpenter's The Thing.
You beat me to it, I was just about to say.
Yeah.
But Cronenberg's The Fly.
Oh, yeah, man.
The original's fantastic. The Vincent Price one is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But Cronenberg's Fly is completely different texture, completely different morals to it, and it's just phenomenal.
I mean, it's just even... this one's a prime example that should always be used as far as the remakes, because Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead remake,
right,
which is extremely great. If you compare that to the original, oh man, the remake is so much better.
Well, there you go. I mean, the original was a low budget film. It was,
Yeah, it's because at that time, films like that were just always being bashed because apparently, it wasn't, the hip thing back then.
Z-grade. Z-grade.
It's just, I mean, if you compare those films, of course, that was, very low budget. Probably now comparing today, it's like, it's really poor looking and this and that. But, I mean, Tom Savini's version was back in the 90s, so...
But then again, I mean, those things exist. Those movies exist just to appreciate how they were made.
Yeah, I mean, even look at Psycho, the remake of Psycho with Vince Vaughn.
I'm watching it. I have to admit, I couldn't go near it. I have such unbelievable respect for Alfred Hitchcock that I just thought, nope, I'm not going.
Yeah, that's what I mean, dude. It's just like films like that, like George Romero's films. Like, don't remake that shit. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like even yourself. I don't know if you're a fan of the Lost Boys, but I mean, it looks like if someone tries to do the Lost Boys remake.
Oh no, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. I mean, the Lost Boys. The thing about I am a fan of the Lost Boys. The thing about the Lost Boys, what made it great was it was the first really mainstream comedy horror.
Yeah, it's like a mix with some 80s metal, dude. I mean, look at the Lost Boys themselves. They got at least 3 of them are at least into 80s or 80s metal.
No, it's terrible. That part is kind of embarrassing. But other than that, it worked so well in its time, and it created its own genre. I mean, straight after the Lost Boys was Fright Night came out.
Oh yes, I love Fright Night, man. That's awesome.
Another great film, and it really did. It kind of stood out as the first time someone had gone vampire and comedy and put them together. And that's what really worked for Lost Boys, and that's what didn't work for The Tribe, personally.
Yo, I didn't even watch The Tribe because, I mean, why would you not include the Frog Brothers together? Why?
Well, for starters. Oh. But also, it just took itself way too seriously. It was like, I don't know what it was trying to do, but it was just so serious that it lost that magic that the first one had. And I think the first brings that back that humor and that slightly kookiness, and the support characters, the stuff that I play and Stephen plays and Henny as well, and Casey, and we kind of lend a little bit of levity to the very sort of serious Frog Brothers kind of fighting vampires and that kind of thing, and I think that's what The Tribe was missing. It was missing the humor.
Yeah. I mean, that was just awesome for the end. I'm not going to spoil it, but it was awesome that Alan Frog and Edgar Frog are, like, fighting together in this one.
Oh, yeah.
That was just awesome. If it's not them together, what's the point even watching it?
No, absolutely. I mean, I suppose the Lost Boys, without Corey Haim, it was pretty much the three of them. It was Haim, Feldman, and Newlander.
But it was actually best that way because I mean, it's not like to really take him out, but that character is actually best not to be in there anyway because he wasn't even really with the Frog Brothers to begin with. He was just helping them out.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. He was the new one in town. The brothers were.
So I mean, we kind of throw him off. It's like, okay, why is he suddenly a member just because that one situation?
Fair enough. I didn't even think of that, but
I mean, it's just it was a good film though. For The Thirst, that's a good film.
It was great to do. It was so much fun to do. Horror movies are just always fun to do. It's very, very messy work.
Yeah, speaking of the horror genre, horror is like almost literally dead now. It's not. There's hardly any horror films. The only last one was like within the past 2 years. Like Drag Me to Hell and Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
Really? That's it?
Drag Me to Hell. That was. I must admit, I nearly peed myself laughing in that fight in the car.
Oh yeah. So why can't the bitch just get out of the car?
Man, this is why we love Sam Raimi. Because no one else would put that scene in a movie.
Yeah, I know a lady trying to bite her even though she has no teeth.
Oh man, that was hysterical. I was shrieking.
Oh yeah, that was the only thing. It's speaking of which, since we're gonna go into some of the high graphic films, What do you think about CGI?
You know what? It has its place, but you know, you look at District 9. District 9 is I have to say, is my perfect ideal of what CGI should be used for. You can't frame in District 9 where you're going, wow, that's CGI. Most of the time I'm watching District 9 and I'm going, how the hell did they pull that off? How did they do that? That mech scene at the end with the dust on the floor and the dirt and flying, and that's what CGI is for in terms of film.
Yeah.
When you watch a movie like, for me, Avatar, for example, it was the most beautifully done, exquisitely portrayed images I've ever seen on film. But it looked like a game, or it looked like a cartoon to me. I felt like I was watching a Pixar movie. I kind of lost the humanity in that film. Whereas, so yeah, for me CGI it should be something that accentuates, that is used to help. Particularly, like, I mean, in the Lord of the Rings they used CGI horses for safety. You know, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. It's a touch-up tool, that's all it is. But the problem is, it's been overly used, like abused, too many times.
Absolutely.
Now everyone just paints the whole thing CGI, and not actually use real people anymore.
That's what was so great about working on Death Race. I mean, I haven't seen the final picture, so I can't really tell you how much of it, if any, has been CG'd. But on set, everything was practical effects. We were blowing up cars, we were tossing them around, people were flying out of places, and it was just so fantastic to be in that environment, to see stuntmen doing what stuntmen do. Driving cars like crazy, getting hit by cars, you know, falling out of buildings. It was just fantastic to watch those guys at work. And also to be, you know, just to experience the power of those of explosions when you're literally, my first day on set is an explosion. I won't tell you where in the film, but there's like an explosion that happens about 20 feet from me, and it's the first time I've ever been in a scene like that, and I literally hugged the actor next to me. I got such a fright that I just turned to him and hugged him. It was hysterical. We kind of shot the thing, and Raul says cut, and Fred turns to me and says, "Did you just hug me?" I'm going, "I'm sorry, dude." But it was a massive explosion, like literally 20 feet away from me. And for me, that's what movie making is about. That's the movie making that I grew up with when I was watching, you know, how they were making movies in Hollywood in the early 80s and the late 70s. It was explosions and stuntmen and car chases, and it was such a blast to do Death Race 2 because of that. Just feeling the power of those engines as well. And I think you lose a lot of that when it's not really there. You know, I mean, you look at Phantom Menace, and that is an absolute pure A-list cast, and they look like what they're doing. They look like actors in an empty room. You know?
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's get into Death Race. Oh, tell us a little bit about Death Race 2. Tell me about your character. For those that's never seen Death Race or the remake.
You're phrasing it that way.
Okay. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your character and your involvement with this film a little bit more.
Okay, well, in the first remake, and we're going to confuse people, in the Paul Anderson Death Race with Jason Statham, basically the movie starts with Frankenstein's last race, and at the end of that race, Frankenstein's killed. And so then Jason Statham comes into the prison, blah blah blah, and he puts on the mask of Frankenstein. So Death Race 2 is the story that happens immediately before that. It's the story of the original Frankenstein. The original driver, as they say on the blurb, the original driver to wear the Frankenstein mask. And so basically my part in that is me, Fred Kohler, and Danny Trejo the great, awesome Danny Trejo, are Luke Goss's pit crew. So in the Paul Anderson version, it was I think it was Jacob Vargas, Ian McShane, and Fred played the pit crew. So this happens, I don't know, in the timeline I'm not sure exactly where it happens, probably a couple of years before the first film. And yeah, we're basically the pit crew. Danny plays a character called Goldberg, and he's like the best mechanic in the prison, and I'm his sidekick. So I'm his mechanic, you know, we work on the cars, and that's what we do. In the prison system, we fix the cars, and we put them together, we make them run, and we get them out on the road. So then when the death race starts up, we all of a sudden have this job. You know, we're part of the pit crew for Luke Goss's character. That's basically what I do.
I mean, do you have like any bigger part in there, or are you just pretty much just a mechanic?
Well, we're part of his crew, so you know we make sure his car runs on time. I mean, if you've seen the Paul Anderson version, we're pretty much covering the characters that Jacob Vargas and Ian McShane did in the first film. So we're kind of his. Actually, Luke and Fred come in together, and so we're kind of the welcome team, so to speak, me and Danny, and we bring them. Well, you know, when they come into the jail, we make sure that they know where everything is, and we sort them out, and we sort Carl out with Luke's character out. You know, what you do and what you don't do in prison, and then when the death race starts up, we become his mechanics, and we make sure his car runs and that he wins races. And then during the races themselves, we're pit crew. We're watching on the monitors and telling him where to hit to pick up the swords and pick up the shields and so on and so forth.
So pretty much you're keeping your ass out of the out of the lane.
Oh yeah.
Like in the remake, you know, you can't kill me. So with this prequel, is it pretty much more intense than what can we expect, like in the remake or the original?
What the prequel has, which is really fun, is I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this stuff, but I suppose it's going out next week. The prequel comes out in a week. What the prequel has that's really fun is it starts with in the Paul Anderson movie, there is at the beginning of the film there's some text on the screen and it gives you the backstory, and so that's pretty much what we're doing. The film starts out with the death matches. So what I liked about it when I read the script is that there's tons of action. There's some great car chases, there's some great accidents and car race scenes, but there's also some fighting, because we start out in the prison, we start out with the death match, and when the ratings start to fall from that, the network representative, September Jones, played by Lauren Cohen, she comes up with Death Race. So it really is the inception of the Death Race and how it all began. And yeah, there's some great stunts. There's some great deaths. I'm trying to rack my brain. We shot this 7 months ago, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Has this actually been protected from the internet, considering we got all the leakage always coming out as far as these new films come out?
Well, I haven't found anything. I saw today that YouTube's got some clips up for Death Race 2. There are about 3 or 4 clips that's just gone up today.
Are you actually comfortable that films like that could possibly be leaked out like that illegally?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Well, it's like piracy. It's like with music tracks. Tracks are always leaked out.
Yeah, I mean, this unfortunately, I mean, I'm an actor. There's nothing I can really do about it except protect. You know, we get watermarked scripts, so it really is up to us to protect our scripts, because you know, if one of our scripts ends up on the net, it's pretty obvious whose script got out there, because you know my name is emblazoned across it. part of the contract is a confidentiality agreement. We can't talk about it. We can't talk about the film or anything unless, in this case, Universal allows us to talk about it. I mean, we are having this interview 2 weeks before the release of the film, and there's enough information online for me to be able to tell you what I'm telling you. But in terms of leakage, there's not really. I can only look after my stuff, my personal photographs that I took on set, or my script, and make sure that none of that gets leaked out.
Yeah.
But I have no control over the film itself. So I don't know. I mean, I keep saying to people that, I think DVDs are going to get leaked anyway, regardless. They might not get leaked before the release, but they'll get out there eventually. And what you really need to do is pack them with special features, because that's what's going to make people go and buy. I mean, take the Lord of the Rings box sets. The movies were fantastic. I loved them. I enjoyed watching them. But I made sure I bought all the box sets because it's got like 6.5 hours of special features on there.
Man. Even Nightmare on Elm Street has a whole box set.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the model of marketing movies and music needs to change. We can't. I don't think we can be that proprietary over our product anymore. We have to go, well, okay, you've got access to the product, and that's great, but I think really the impetus is on the studios and the writers and the directors to make the best product possible, so that if someone does pirate it, if someone does download it, they can watch it and go, man, this is such a great film, I'm going to go and buy the DVD. But the fact of the matter is, you have to, in terms of, it goes right back to what we were saying at the beginning of the interview, sustainability. That's what it's about. A movie has to make a profit. If it doesn't make a profit, then the studio is out of pocket. The financiers are out of pocket. And if they're out of pocket, they can't afford to make another movie. So it really is up to the individual who, I don't care if you download movies, but if you like something, go and buy it. Support the artists who put it together. Support the writers. Support the directors. Support the studios who paid for it. Because if you give them enough money, they'll have enough money to make another one. And if you like someone's product, if you buy an album by U2, or if you listen to an album by U2, if you like the band, you want them to release another album. You don't want to bankrupt them by stealing their music.
Yeah, it's just
they bankrupt U2, but.
Yeah, the more people that download these, scenes from the film that wasn't even released, the more you're draining them from out of their own paycheck, right there.
Yeah, absolutely, and it really is about sustainability, and we have to, just as individuals. I mean, I'm not preaching to anyone here. The internet is a great leveler. If your product sucks, people are going to steal it, and that's it. But if you like something, have the decency to pay for it, because people spent their time, people spent their money to create something for your pleasure. And if it gives you pleasure, pay for it. I mean, it's $20 or $25, big deal. That's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, today's film industry is just, it's so chaotic and artificial now.
Yeah.
And superficial. I mean, what would you say the problem would be of today's film industry comparing, way back and then? What would you say the biggest problem would be, or at least a problem?
I'd say, originality of scripts. I don't know if that is if the industry is getting unoriginal, or if I've been around for long enough to have seen most of the tricks that are being put onto film. It's a difficult one to discern, but it's very seldom that I'm blown away by something. 9 times out of 10. No, okay, I'm exaggerating. But I'd say 50% of the time, when I go and watch a movie, or when I watch an episode of something or a TV series, within 15-20 minutes, I can predict the end. I know how it's going to end. The formula, the three-act formula, the Hollywood formula of script writing it's got to a point now where it really is obvious. Unless you're brand new to cinema, or you're, 12 years old and you've only seen 20 films in your entire life, you sit down with a film, and within the first 10 minutes you kind of have an idea where it's going. 25 minutes in, you've confirmed that idea, and by the time you get to the end, you're sitting there yawning because you thought, well, I knew this was coming. And Avatar for me was very much that. I mean, 5 minutes in, I thought, I know where this is going, but I love James Cameron, I trust James Cameron, so I'm sure it's going to get better. And it just didn't.
Yeah, sometimes even like a director and a writer that were working on a hit film, and they both combine together and then pretty much make the exact same film of what they've already done into one film. It's just it's like, it's not that great. It's not.
I think also what happens is, the studio system is it's the only system that we have, so I don't want to badmouth it, but the way that a script gets developed and it gets passed on to producer and executive producer and rewriter, and by the time the movie gets made, the original concept has been diluted over 20, 30 people who've all had their opinion and all had their 2 cents put into the script, and you end up with what was originally a phenomenal piece of cinema becoming a completely arbitrary and totally typical formulaic movie. And this happens time and time again. I tell you what I really loved, in terms of films that surprised me, Pandorum, Dennis Quaid film.
Yeah.
That surprised me. And like I say, I very seldom get surprised in movies, and that movie surprised me. I liked the way it was structured. I don't want to go too much into it because I'll give too much away. But your classic horror movie trope is, we start with a group of about 5 or 6 or 7 people, and slowly they get picked off one by one. Right off the bat, Pandorum works backwards. We start the movie with one person, and 5 minutes later we have 2 people, and then 15 minutes later we have 3 people. And it's weird, the cast kind of grows instead of shrinking, which is the normal sort of way that horror movies are done.
Yeah.
But the end really surprised me, and it was brilliant. I really loved that film. And again, did that even get to circuit? I think that was, down here, it was definitely a straight to DVD title. We never had a theatrical release on that. But you get these really great films that just disappear.
Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, Night of the Creeps went to DVD a couple years back.
I've heard of it.
For the very first time, and I got to fucking buy it, and it's great. They even kept the original ending that was pretty much taken off because they didn't like the original ending. That's why they use a dog in the new ending, but the original ending's actually on the DVD in the actual film.
Wow.
It's not a special feature. It's actually in the actual film because it was requested by the actual maker of the film. Yeah, it's just a lot of great films are not making anywhere, especially the independent films. They just stay independent and pretty much disappear. So, what are your opinions on independent films not exactly getting out there as they should?
As long as they make their money back, and that's what it comes down to. If a movie costs $50,000 to make, if it makes $60,000, then it is a success. It has made its money back. And the indies have survived like that for decades. And yes, they don't get the mainstream exposure that they deserve, but in a lot of cases, they make a profit. Even if it's just a little bit of a profit, they just need to make a profit.
Yeah, it's just the problem is the supporters is the biggest problem, because now, again, it's all artificial. It's got to be, a big hit. You got to be a pop star. You gotta say fuck 100 billion times like a rapper and get a $6 million record deal. While a rock band that breaks their fucking ass for 6 months at a time at gigs pay to play, and not get shit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's a great band down here called Lark, which they were amazing. They were absolutely amazing. They brought out 2 albums, and I went to about 6 or 7 of their gigs. Just a fantastic. I used to say it sounded like Goldfrapp. No, sorry, it sounded like Kate Bush backed by Nine Inch Nails.
Huh.
It was just this beautiful, angelic voice in the front with this heavily electronic stuff in the back. It was just a gorgeous, gorgeous band. And they just disappeared. They just faded out, ran out of money, went broke, quit, got real jobs.
Yeah, it's always the biggest problem is for bands as well as the filmmakers, because you just can't find any supporters anymore.
Yeah.
Because unless it's by the man that proves it, that's the only way you're going to get anywhere.
Yeah. But I mean, the key is to bring in, and we're very used to it down here, and I think the British have a similar thing. Even if a movie is shot in South Africa, you might have 95% of the cast may be South African, but you got to get the leads from the US. And the UK is the same thing. I mean, you look at the hit movies from the UK in the last 10, 15 years, they've all got an American lead. Sliding Doors, Gwyneth Paltrow, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Andy McDowell. The list it goes on and on. And there's nothing wrong with British actors. They're all fucking brilliant. There's nothing wrong with South African actors. But we don't have the financial pull that the American actors have. And I think it's very necessary. I mean, even when Clint Eastwood shot Invictus down here last year, he used Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon. The rest of the cast is all South African. But he knows very well that Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon will get people, will get bums on seats. They will go and watch this film. And for us, as actors in this country, it means that we get to work in a movie that has exposure. But, so there's nothing wrong with getting the man in your picture. Just make it a good picture.
Yeah. Of course. Alright, we're going to cut it down a little bit. Well, you got any advice for anyone, any those youngsters out there that want to get into film? As far as, even writing or directing that you've been doing.
Sure. Well, writing and directing is easy, especially with the. I don't mean it's easy to make a living out of it. I mean, if you want to put stuff together, it's the technology available today it's relatively simple and it's relatively cheap to make a movie. You don't have to get an HD camera and spend $100,000 on your first movie. You can shoot it on a cell phone nowadays. And I always say just create as much as possible. You're never, unless you're a genius, unless you're a Mozart or a Prince or a Michael Jackson, you're never going to get stuff done. You're never going to create a brilliant product the first time round. Don't let that put you off.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I do believe that quantity, especially when you're starting out, quantity is better than purely seeking quality, because you've just got to put in the time. You've got to put in the work. I mean, when I wrote my first the short film that I shot, Play by Heart, I think that's about the 7th screenplay I'd written, and I did about 18 drafts on that before we started shooting. And I was still rewriting when we were shooting. And I look at it today, and it's a fun film, but it's not brilliant. But for me at the time, it was an important thing. It was a huge achievement for me. I had made a film, and I think it's more important to take those small achievements. It's more important to sit with a cell phone and shoot your friends talking, having a conversation on the side of the road, and shoot it from 4 different angles, and get your master shot and your close-ups and your over the shoulders, and just put that together, because what that'll give you is a product that you can look at and you can go, wow, I did something. And even if it's crap, you can go, go, okay, well, it's crap because of this, and next time I will make it better. And if it's good, you can go, it's good because of this, and I must remember that so that I can do that again next time. Yeah. And so it really is about constantly creating. Don't let your failures get you down. Keep at it, and you'll get somewhere. I read somewhere, I don't remember who said this, it might have been Stephen King. We have a tendency when we create a product, whether it's a song or a book or a story or a film or whatever, we have a tendency to compare ourselves to our idols. So if I write a song now and I don't sound like Beck, I'm going to get depressed because, my song's not as good as Beck's song. What you should be doing is comparing yourself to Beck's first song. What did that sound like? Because it was probably pretty shit. When he first sat down at a guitar and strummed out 2 or 3 chords when he was 13 or 12 or whatever, it was probably a crap song. But he kept at it, and he became who he is. And it's, and that's what we should do. Don't compare yourself to Stephen King. Don't compare yourself to Steven Spielberg or Sam Raimi when you're sitting down to shoot your first film. You gotta, apples and oranges, man. You gotta look at it as a beginner's project. And don't let it get you down.
Yeah.
Good enough? That could go on forever.
I would love to take 3 now.
Yeah, take 7. As for, working as an actor, I would say study, at least so you know what you're doing. And so you have a little bit of on-set experience, even if it's just student productions or doing short films for friends. Because what really stands you out on a film set is simple etiquette and understanding the hierarchy and the rules. Understanding that you call the director sir. You don't say, hey dude. Understanding that if the star is sitting by himself with a script, you don't go and sit down and go, hey Bruce, how you doing? You leave him in his space. You let the star have his space. And just respecting those around you. There's too many actors that show up on a film set thinking that they're the most important thing there. You're not. You are one tiny piece of a huge puzzle. Yeah. And every single person on that set is as important. Every single person. Because without the cameraman, without the gaffers to light you, without the riggers to put the lights up and to change the set, and without the makeup artist to make you look beautiful, without the DP to make sure that you're in focus, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just like a band. Without drums, you got no beat, man. Without the guitar, you got nothing. Without the singer...
What about the lead singer? It's about everyone working together.
Yeah. All right, we're going to cut it way down now. So go ahead and plug in any websites that you have, and also what you're doing. When are those new films coming out again?
Okay, well, Lost Boys, the first came out in August, I believe, and that's available on DVD and Blu-ray. Death Race 2, I believe, is coming out on the 18th of January on DVD and Blu-ray, and then Dread will be coming out in 2012. At the moment, I am not doing much. I did a casting for Safe House, which is Denzel Washington's new project, but I haven't heard back from that yet. So I cannot confirm or deny anything on that front. And, well, plug my own site, www.joevaz.com. I used to publish, I might get back to it if I have some time, a science fiction and horror short story magazine, and that is at somethingwicked.co.za. Yeah, I can't think of anything else to plug.
Or just start plugging in your friends' shit. It's okay.
Yeah, okay. Who else? No, I'm sure I'll think of about 7 things when you hang up.
Oh wait, we got this and this. Yeah. I'm gonna have to fucking like paste 7 segments just so for your plugins. Okay, thanks. Well, there you go, everybody. It's Joe Vaz, actor, writer, director, so forth.
Thank you very much, Mike. It's been really great.
No problem.
Great chatting to you about films, man. I love talking about films.
Oh yeah, definitely. You're gonna come back, no doubt.
Brilliant. Anytime.
Oh yeah.